Right now, a brand new Dodge Charger, the car Dodge spent years hyping as the future of American muscle, is sitting on a dealer lot with 385 days of unsold inventory behind it. That's more than a full year. Another car on this list has a $25,000 discount and still can't find a buyer. And one brand shows up on the slowest selling list so many times that it stops looking like a sales problem and starts looking like a company problem. CarEdge data. Real inventory numbers, real sales figures. 12 cars nobody wants, even at massive discounts. Let's count down. Number 12, Buick Envision, 2024 to 2026. The Buick Envision sits at 227 days of market day supply according to CarEdge, nearly 8 months of unsold inventory on dealer lots nationwide, despite selling approximately 2,650 units in the last 45 days at an average price of roughly $40,000. Those sales numbers aren't catastrophic on their own. The problem is the gap between what GM built and what the market actually absorbed. Buick shipped Envisions to dealers expecting a crossover boom that never materialized at this price point. And the result is lots full of compact luxury SUVs that nobody test drives because nobody walks into a Buick dealership looking for a compact luxury SUV in the first place. The Envision is genuinely not a bad vehicle in Tapo. It's quiet, well-built, and carries a reasonable ownership cost for its segment. But not a bad vehicle is the most damning compliment in the automotive industry, because it means there's nothing about it compelling enough to pull buyers away from the Honda CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, or the Mazda CX-5, all of which cost less and carry brands that Americans actually think about when they're shopping. The Envision doesn't have a demand problem. It has an identity problem. Nobody hates it, nobody loves it, and nobody remembers it. It exists until a dealer starts offering $7,000 off sticker just to make room for next year's models. The Envision is the automotive equivalent of a perfectly good restaurant between two fast food chains. No better food, fair price, empty parking lot. A car nobody hates and nobody remembers. The next one is an EV that was supposed to change everything, and changed nothing. Number 11, Nissan Ariya, 2023 to 2026. The Nissan Ariya arrived as Nissan's flagship electric crossover, the vehicle that was supposed to prove Nissan could compete with Tesla, Hyundai, and Ford in the rapidly evolving EV market. Instead, the Ariya has spent most of its existence sitting on dealer lots, while the competitors it was designed to challenge sell at rates that make Nissan's EV strategy look like a rough draft that was accidentally published. The Ariya consistently appears on CarEdge's slowest selling lists with market day supply numbers that suggest dealers are measuring inventory in seasons rather than months. The Ariya's problem isn't one single failure. It's the accumulation of several. The pricing puts it above the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Chevrolet Equinox e-Fi, while delivering less range and fewer features. The infotainment and software experience trails Tesla by a gap that reviewers describe in terms usually reserved for generational differences rather than competitive comparisons. And Nissan's dealer network, built for Altimas and Rogues, has struggled to sell a $45,000 electric crossover to customers who walked in looking for a $28,000 sedan. The EV market moves fast, and the Ariya arrived moving slowly, with updates and improvements coming at a pace that suggests Nissan is debugging a product that the market has already moved past. For buyers willing to negotiate, the Ariya is available at discounts that would have been unthinkable at launch. And the vehicle itself, stripped of the hype that failed it, is a perfectly competent electric crossover, just not a competitive one. An EV that arrived a generation too late. The next car carries a badge that used to mean luxury and now means inventory. Number 10, Infiniti QX60, 2024 to 2026. The Infiniti QX60 should be one of the easiest sells in the luxury SUV market. A 3-row crossover with a recognizable badge, a spacious interior, and a price point that undercuts the BMW X5 and Mercedes GLE by thousands. Instead, the QX60 sits on dealer lots with market day supply numbers that tell a story Infiniti doesn't want to hear. The brand itself has become the problem. Infiniti's sales volume across the entire lineup has been declining for years, and the QX60, it being one of the brand's strongest products, is collateral damage in a brand erosion that no single model can reverse. The irony is mechanical. Under the Infiniti badge sits Nissan's proven 3.5-liter V6, and a 9-speed ZF automatic transmission. Reliable, smooth, and significantly less complicated than the turbocharged 4 cylinders that European competitors use to achieve similar power. But Infiniti's problem was never the hardware. It's that American luxury buyers default to Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes without ever considering Infiniti, because the brand spent the last decade failing to give them a reason to. The QX60 is the luxury SUV equivalent of the kid in school who does solid work and never gets called on. Present, capable, and completely invisible. You can find clean examples with significant discounts, and the mechanical package underneath is genuinely competitive. Nobody cares. And that invisibility is the Infiniti brand's entire problem, distilled into 2 words. The vehicle works, the badge doesn't. A luxury SUV that nobody considers. The next one is British, and the brand behind it has essentially stopped existing. Number 9, Jaguar F-PACE 2024 to 2026. The Jaguar F-PACE has been on CarEdge's slowest-selling list for the better part of the last year, and the reason extends far beyond the vehicle itself into a brand-level crisis that makes the F-PACE's inventory numbers feel like a symptom rather than the disease. Jaguar is in the process of killing its entire current lineup to relaunch as an all-electric luxury brand, which means every F-PACE on a dealer lot right now is functionally a vehicle from a company that's already told the world it's moving on to something else. Buying a new F-PACE in 2026 is like buying furniture from a store that's already announced it's closing. The product might be fine, but the context makes you nervous. Jaguar's sales volume has dropped to levels so low that Consumer Reports couldn't include the brand in its annual reliability rankings due to insufficient data, a distinction shared only with Maserati and Land Rover. The F-PACE itself drives beautifully, offers a genuinely engaging experience behind the wheel, and features an interior that's competitive with anything in its class. None of that matters when the brand behind it is publicly transitioning away from the vehicle you're being asked to spend $50,000 on. Dealers know the situation and are negotiating accordingly. Significant discounts are available for anyone willing to buy into a brand that's simultaneously asking you to trust it, while admitting it's abandoning what you're buying. A car from a brand that's already told you it's leaving. The next one is GM's attempt at an electric SUV, and the launch was one of the most embarrassing in modern automotive history. Number 8, Chevrolet Blazer EV 2024 to 2026. The Chevrolet Blazer EV had one of the worst product launches in recent GM history, so bad that GM actually paused production and sales to fix software problems that should have been caught before a single vehicle reached a dealership. Early buyers reported infotainment screens that froze, charging systems that wouldn't activate, and in some cases, vehicles that couldn't be driven at all without a dealer software reflash. MCEO Mary Barra publicly acknowledged the issues, and the Blazer EV became a case study in what happens when a manufacturer rushes an EV to market before the software is ready. The damage was done before the fixes arrived. The Blazer EV now sits with elevated market day supply numbers, carrying the weight of a first impression that no amount of over-the-air updates can fully erase. Buyers who might have considered the Blazer EV watched the launch disaster unfold in real time on social media and automotive forums, and many of them moved to the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, or the Kia EV6, vehicles that worked on delivery day without requiring a dealer intervention. The Blazer EV is now a significantly improved product compared to its launch state, and GM has addressed the major software complaints. But in the EV market, you don't get a second chance at a first impression. And the Blazer EV's inventory numbers reflect a market that remembers exactly how the story started. A launch so bad, GM stopped selling it. The next car carries an Italian badge, US, and the entire brand is fighting for survival. Number 7, Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 2024 to 2026. The Alfa Romeo Stelvio sits at 229 days of market day supply, nearly 8 months of unsold inventory. For an SUV that automotive journalists have consistently called one of the best driving vehicles in its class, the Stelvio handles like a sports car, features an interior that's genuinely beautiful to sit in, and carries an engine that delivers the kind of responsive, emotional power that German competitors have systematically engineered out of their own products. And none of that has been enough to make Americans buy one, because Alfa Romeo is a brand that Americans respect from a distance and refuse to visit visit in person. Alfa Romeo's problem in America has always been the same. The cars are excellent, the dealership experience is questionable, and the reliability reputation, earned by previous generations, follows the current cars like a ghost that won't leave the room. The modern Stelvio is built on a platform shared with the Giulia sedan and uses Stellantis components that are considerably more reliable than anything Alfa produced a decade ago. But the market doesn't buy data sheets. The market buys perception. And the perception of Alfa Romeo in America is still beautiful, unreliable, and expensive to fix. A reputation that may have been accurate in 2014 but is increasingly unfair in 2026. The Stelvio is being punished for crimes its predecessors committed, and the discount you'll get on one today is essentially a refund for a reputation you never personally experienced, which, for the right buyer, makes this one of the most undervalued SUVs in the luxury market. An Italian SUV's paying for its grandfather's sins. The next car is the sedan version, and it's sitting even longer. Number 6. Alfa Romeo Giulia 2024 to 2026. The Alfa Romeo Giulia carries a market day supply of 270 days, 9 full months of unsold inventory on a compact luxury sedan that Motor Trend named its car of the year when it launched, that has beaten the BMW 3 Series in multiple published comparison tests, and that delivers a driving experience most automotive journalists describe as genuinely superior to anything German in its class. 9 months. On a Car of the Year winner in a segment where the BMW 3 Series turns over inventory in weeks. That gap between critical acclaim and market rejection is the single most frustrating data point on this entire list. The Giulia's problem is identical to the Stelvio's. Alfa Romeo's brand perception in America is a wall that no driving experience, no comparison test victory, and no journalist recommendation can climb over. American luxury buyers walk into BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus dealerships by default, and Alfa Romeo sits in the "I've heard of it, but I've never been inside one" category that kills sales volumes regardless of product quality. The Giulia is available with discounts unthinkable on a BMW 3 Series, thousands off sticker on a car that drives better than the one nobody negotiates on. For buyers willing to ignore the badge, the Giulia might be the best deal in the luxury sedan market right now. A car that drives like a $55,000 German and sells like a $35,000 afterthought. 9 months of inventory on a Car of the Year winner. The next car isn't sitting because it's unloved. It's sitting because the icon it represents changed into something nobody asked for. Number 5, Jeep Wrangler 2024 to 2026. The Jeep Wrangler appearing on a slowest-selling list would have been unthinkable 3 years ago. This was the vehicle that dealers marked up by thousands, that buyers waited months to receive, and that held resale value like a Rolex. That era is over. The Wrangler has appeared on CarEdge's high inventory lists in 2026, and the reason traces directly back to a pattern that appears repeatedly on this list. Stellantis built too many of them during a period when demand was already cooling, and now the lots are full of Wranglers that the market isn't absorbing at the pace the factory assumed. The Wrangler itself hasn't changed in any way that would explain a demand shift this dramatic. The problem is pricing. A Wrangler with the packages that buyers actually want, the off-road equipment, the removable roof, the upgraded interior, regularly clears $50,000. Which puts it in direct competition with vehicles that offer dramatically more daily driving comfort and practicality. At $50,000, the Wrangler isn't competing against other Wranglers anymore. It's competing against the Toyota 4Runner, the Ford Bronco, and the Lexus GX, and losing on everything except the brand mythology that used to justify the premium. Dealers who once told Wrangler buyers to take it or leave it are now running financing incentives that would have been unthinkable during the shortage era. For the first time in a decade, the Wrangler is negotiable. And for buyers who actually want one, that's the best news this list has to offer. The icon that priced itself out of its own mythology. The next car costs $96 $100,000. And the brand behind it is in free fall. Number 4, Maserati Grecale 2023 to 2026. The Maserati Grecale sits at 233 days of market day supply at an average price of $95,000 to $889. And the numbers behind that inventory tell the story of an entire brand in collapse. Maserati sold only 104 units nationally in March 2026. For context, that's fewer cars in a month than most Toyota dealers sell in a weekend. The Grecale was supposed to be the vehicle that saved Maserati by bringing the brand into the luxury SUV segment that Porsche dominates with the Cayenne and Macan. Instead, it arrived into a market that had already decided Maserati wasn't worth the risk at this price point. Maserati's global sales have collapsed by 58% over 2 years, falling from a peak near 49,000 units to roughly 11,127 worldwide in 2025. American import tariffs of 25% on European vehicles applied directly to the Italy-built Grecale, layering additional cost onto a vehicle already priced above what most buyers believe the brand can justify. Consumer Reports doesn't even include Maserati in its reliability rankings due to insufficient data volume, the polite statistical way of saying almost nobody owns one. The updated 2026 Grecale added a twin-turbo V6, producing 385 horsepower, a genuine improvement that arrived years too late to reverse the brand damage. One analyst summarized it plainly: buyers interested in Italian luxury are better served waiting. You'll pay half the sticker price on a used one within 2 years. 104 monthly sales and a brand in free fall. The next car is sitting at nearly a full year of unsold inventory, and more than half its owners say they'd never buy it again. Number 3, Volkswagen ID.4 2021 to 2026. The Volkswagen ID.4 sits at 349 days of market day supply, nearly a full year of unsold inventory, with just 151 units selling in the last 45 days against 1,172, sitting on dealer lots at an average price of $46,408. According to Consumer Reports' 2026 owner satisfaction survey covering roughly 380,000 vehicles, only 45% of ID.4 owners say they would buy one again. That means more than half of all surveyed ID.4 owners are on record saying they regret their purchase, a number that aligns with documented patterns of software problems, infotainment glitches, and charging frustrations that have followed the vehicle since launch. The ID.4 has faced legal action in certain markets specifically tied to software performance, an unusual occurrence for a mainstream crossover from an established global automaker. VW has pushed multiple software updates to address documented issues, but the window for first impressions closed for most buyers before those fixes arrived. In a compact electric SUV market that now includes the Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, Chevrolet Equinox EV, and Ford Mustang Mach-E, the ID.4 is competing against vehicles that arrived later and immediately worked better. 349 days of supply isn't a slow quarter. It's a market delivering its verdict in the clearest language available. When a year's worth of inventory is sitting unsold, the product failed to deliver what the showroom experience promised: nearly a year of unsold inventory and a 45% buy-again rate. The next car costs $100,000, and the discounts to move it are genuinely staggering. Number 2, Jeep Grand Wagoneer 2022 to 2026. Stellantis positioned the Jeep Grand Wagoneer as a $90,000 to $110,000 direct competitor to the Cadillac Escalade and Lincoln Navigator. The market responded by leaving them on dealer lots for over 400 days. CarEdge tracked the Grand Wagoneer at over 428 days of market day supply at one point, more than a full year of unsold inventory, and dealers have been cutting $25,000 or more off MSRP specifically to move existing stock. That's not a discount. That's a manufacturer admitting the original price was a fiction. The Grand Wagoneer's interior and high-spec trims genuinely delivers presence. Macintosh, audio, real wood, leather everywhere. But it combines that luxury with Stellantis tier reliability in a price bracket where buyers specifically expect the manufacturer's track record to justify the investment. Consumer Reports placing Jeep at the absolute bottom of owner satisfaction rankings means buyers who paid Escalade money for a Grand Wagoneer inherited a Jeep ownership experience. The exact brand-level mismatch that $25,000 dealer discounts are now trying to paper over. One analyst summarized it plainly. Stellantis positioned this as a luxury flagship. Consumers didn't bite. The 428 days of sitting inventory is the market delivering that verdict. Owners who paid full sticker now watch identical trucks clear at $25,000 below what they signed. A monthly payment reminder of a negotiation they lost before it started. For buyers who don't mind the Stellantis ownership lottery, the Grand Wagoneer at $25,000 off is a lot of truck for the money. Whether the brand can support it long-term is the question the discount tries to make you forget. $25,000 off and still nobody's buying. Only one car on this list is sitting longer, and it's the car that was supposed to save an American icon. Number 1, Dodge Charger 2026. The 2026 Dodge Charger is the slowest selling new car in America. 385 days of market day supply, 10,796 units, sitting on dealer lots nationwide, and just 1,261 finding buyers in the last 45 days at an average price of $58,560. That's more than a year of unsold inventory on a car that Dodge spent the better part of a decade telling the world would be the future of American muscle. The future arrived. Nobody showed up. Here's what makes the Charger the most painful entry on this list. The car itself is not the problem. The new six-pack engine, Dodge's twin turbocharged inline-six, is genuinely powerful and mechanically interesting. The chassis is sharp, the four-door layout is more practical than any Charger before it. And gas-powered Charger sales actually surged 404% year over year in recent months, proving that demand exists when the right powertrain is offered. The Daytona EV variant, meanwhile, collapsed, suggesting the market wants a gas Charger but isn't ready for an electric one at this price. And Dodge bet on both simultaneously and got stuck holding inventory on the version nobody asked for. The result is a car that's genuinely good, sitting on lots for over a year, dragged down by a product strategy that tried to be everything to everyone and ended up convincing nobody. 385 days, the slowest selling car in America. On a vehicle the manufacturer called its future. For buyers, that means the Charger is currently the single most negotiable new car in the country, and the gas-powered versions, once dealers separate them from the Daytona EV deadweight, might be the performance bargain of the decade. 12 cars, 5 different Stellantis brands on one list, and a pattern the dealership will never volunteer. These vehicles are sitting in inventory so deep that every day costs the dealer money in interest, insurance, and depreciation. That math works in your favor, but only if you know which cars it applies to. Now you do. Which one surprised you most? Comments. Subscribe. The next list covers the cars dealers can't stop selling, and the contrast is brutal.